What's up, guys? Carolina Jackpot time. Checking in with a few picks and predictions for week number 3 of the college football season. This is the weekend of September 16th, 2017. And I have 20 games that I've picked once again. As I did last week, we went 12-8, which was decent, but could have done a little bit better. And I'm going to see this week if my slate of 20 games, I can do a little bit better than what I did last time. I'm going to start out with a couple of Friday night games. Just jump into this thing full bore and right away. I had to split last week's video into 2 parts, 2 15-minute segments. There was 10 games in each one. And probably be doing the same thing again this week because I get to filibuster in about a topic or a particular game, and it takes a little while longer to cover all of them. All right, so Friday night we got a few games on the slate. We have one Thursday night, but whichever one it is not worth mentioning. On Friday night, Illinois is on the road at South Florida. South Florida is a 17.5 point favorite in this game. Both teams actually come in 2-0. I'm going to look for Illinois to cover the spread in this game. Do I think they're going to win this game? No, I don't. I think it'll be a 2-touchdown game. But South Florida has really not impressed this year quite the way that I think everyone thought they would. They kind of struggled in the first quarter against San Jose State in the opening game, which was in kind of like week 0. Which is kind of a surprise. And last week, home game against Stony Brook, which is a team from the Big South Conference, they only won by like 2 touchdowns, like 31-17 or something like that. So they're not doing as good as I think everyone would expect it to. Also traveling down there. I'm a little bit surprised this game's even being played, to be quite honest with you. And I don't honestly know that it will due to the Hurricane Irma devastation. It hit the Tampa area. So, whose mind may be focused on something like that? These players, they could get upset by Illinois. They're not terrible, 2-0. They did struggle to beat Ball State in the opening game. Last week, it had like a 10-point victory against Western Kentucky, who is not a bad football team at all, one of the better teams in the Sun Belt Conference. So look for this to be a decently close game. UMass at Temple. I want to pick UMass to cover the spread on the road at Temple. Temple is absolutely horrible. They lost by 30-something odd points at Notre Dame in a game I thought they would cover the spread, and they didn't. Last week, they eked out a 3-point win at home against Villanova, crosstown rival. That's a FCS team. Come on. Not good at all. This is going to be a close one. It's going to be a barn burner. I think Temple will probably take it in the end, but I expect UMass to cover that 2-touchdown spread in that game. Getting into Saturday's games, Saturday afternoon showdowns, the noon games. Louisiana Lafayette is on the road at Texas A&M. The Aggies are a 24-point favorite. Why? I don't know. They had a 34-point lead on a team in week 1 and blew it. And last week, they beat Nicholls State by 10 points. Nicholls State. I don't know what it is with Nicholls State and giving these SEC teams a hard time, but they sure are good at it. Right now, I don't think Texas A&M is 24 points better than hardly anybody. They're not playing very well. Got a lot of unrest in that program, a lot of negativity. I just don't see that happening. I think Louisiana Lafayette will cover the spread. I think Texas A&M will win the game and go to 2-1 on the season, but I think that the Raging Cajuns will give them all they can handle. UCLA is on the road at Memphis. Memphis is a 3-point underdog to UCLA. Go with the Bruins here and Josh Rosen to cover the spread in the Liberty Bowl against the Memphis Tigers. Oklahoma State is on the road at Pitt. Oklahoma State's a 13.5-point favorite over Pitt. That's in Heinz Field. I'm going to take Oklahoma State to cover the spread here. Man, they look really good in their first 2 games of the season. Especially the one this past week, this past Friday night. I actually watched most of that game. And I'm telling you, impressive. They are fast and strong. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma is probably going to come down to those two in the Big 12 this year. And I look for them to spank Pitt on the road. Pitt's got they got a tough schedule, man. Tough non-conference schedule. That's a tall task. Penn State last week and Oklahoma State this week. This is one that I was on the fence about. Tennessee on the road at Florida. 5.5-point underdogs to the Gators. Who knows what's going to happen here? I don't think we know enough about either one of these teams to really make a good judgment call on them. Tennessee, that at least it looks like they can come through in the clutch. And then last week they scored some points. They've put 40 plus on the board both games. Florida, didn't look good week 1. They had a lot of players suspended. And I'm not really sure exactly which ones are going to be back for this game and which ones aren't. It's a home game for the Gators. They've owned Tennessee pretty much of late. Last year, Tennessee won for the first time in 12 years against Florida. I'm going to, in this game, I'm going to take the Vols to cover the spread, but I don't necessarily think they're going to win the game. I think this game could come down to a field goal, in which case I think Florida would have the edge because they got a guy that can kick 70-yard field goals with not breaking a sweat. It's going to be a close game, so I'm going to take the Vols to cover the spread here. If they win, great, so be it. I was right, but the only reason I'm taking them is just the fact that Florida's got to be rusty. They've got to be rusty. They haven't played since week 1. Last week's game was canceled, and even though it was just a game against Northern Colorado, there's still a chance to go out there and perform and tune up. So I don't. I just don't know. Part of me wants to take Florida just because it's the home game and the history against Tennessee, but I don't know. That's going to be a close one. That is really going to be a close one. Central Michigan on the road at Syracuse. 10-point underdogs to Syracuse. And I don't know why. I'm going to pick Central Michigan to cover the spread in that one. Central Michigan won on the road last week at Kansas. I know Kansas is not very good. Guess what? Syracuse is not very good either. I thought Dino Babers was going to, instill an offensive mindset there and that they were, gonna, possibly rise to at least the middle of the pack in the ACC Atlantic, but it's not happened, and it does not look like it's going to happen or is not happening. They lost to Middle Tennessee at home last week. An ACC Atlantic team, any magnitude, should not be losing at home to Middle Tennessee. It was by double digits, I believe. Like a 10-point loss. So, this is another barn burner. I don't necessarily know that Central Michigan will beat them straight up, but I definitely think this one will cover the spread and definitely go down to the wire. The Chippewas and the Orange. Well, what a combination! This is the one I'm gonna call this one my lock stock and 2 smoking barrels pick of the week. You know what I mean by that? This is the one I think is my sure thing. UNC is on the road at Old Dominion. 7.5 point favorite against Old Dominion. Did Foreman Field in Norfolk is all of a sudden has become some kind of imposing venue like Death Valley or I don't know the dang I don't know the Big House in Michigan. I mean, come on, 7.5 point favorites really. UNC is 0-2. They didn't play good week 1 against California. I think they'll admit that. But last week, they played Louisville at home, and that was a close game up until the start of the fourth quarter. I mean, it was back and forth, back and forth. UNC with a little bit more effort could have won that game. And Old Dominion, I mean, really, I really don't know what they've done. They had a 10-point victory against an FCS team, and then a 10-point victory at UMass. So this here is going to be UNC is easily going to beat this team by 3 scores, I would say. Last time Old Dominion played an ACC team at home, it was 2 years ago. They played NC State at home, and they got absolutely brutalized. And I don't think that this game is going to be any different. The Tar Heels are going to roll big over the Monarchs in Norfolk, Virginia, and it's going to be by a lot more than 7.5 points. Bet the farm on that one. Army on the road at Ohio State. They're 30-point underdogs. Do I think Ohio State's going to beat Army? Yeah. Do I think they're going to beat them pretty badly? Yeah. Do I think it's going to be 30 points? No, I don't. Army's a tough team. Has played. They're 2-0. Victories against Fordham, which was a 60-something to 6, and Buffalo, 4-point win over Buffalo, which is a team that's 0-2, that has given fits to them and Minnesota, another up and coming team in the Big Ten. I think that Ohio State will win this game by at least 3 touchdowns at the Horseshoe, but I don't look for them to beat them by 30 points. Go back and check what happened last time Ohio State played one of the military academies at home. It was Navy, I think, about 4 years ago, and they had a hell of a time winning that game. I look for this one to be close as well. Army has underwent a real transformation the last few years. Last year they beat Navy for the first time in forever. They went to a bowl game. This